Slacker Astronomy.
Slacker Astronomy and Astronomy Cast and all that.
Friend of Aaron's.
Yes.
So you are soon to be the former editor. Is it editor
Correct.
or publisher?
Editor-in-chief. Former editor-in-chief of Sky and
So
Telescope.
how's it been?
Yes.
How look back on your career at Sky and Telescope? What do you think?
Well, it was a tremendous ride. It was great. 22 years, at the nexus of amateur and professional astronomy. It's been wonderful, and the reason I'm leaving is not because I don't like astronomy anymore, or don't like writing, or don't like editing. It's just that I've been a slave to the monthly production cycle for 22 years, and I'm just tired, Also, I do have a lot of other interests in astronomy. Education is a strong one. When I was at Harvard as a graduate student, I taught as a teaching fellow for several years, and I really enjoyed that. That was part of why I moved out of research and into education and outreach. And so when I started thinking about what might life be like after Sky and Telescope, it was pretty natural, I think, that I ended up falling back into education. So I'll be teaching astronomy at Phillips Academy in Andover, Mass.
Cool.
But even more fun, I'll be directing their new observatory, where they have a 16-inch DFM engineering telescope with a CCD camera and a spectrograph and photometric filters and all kinds of other bells and whistles.
So you are an astronomer. Do you have a PhD in astronomy?
I do. I got my PhD at Harvard in 1985.
Cool.
And I worked as a postdoc for one additional year. I worked on the project that's now the Spitzer Space Telescope. I did my PhD work in the very early days of infrared array cameras. Basically, my thesis was a proof of concept showing that an array camera was a very valuable tool for infrared imaging. There hadn't been any up to that point. I had 256 pixels. That's not 256 megapixels. It's 16 by 16 pixels. That was my camera.
Nice.
So I worked on that project for one additional year before getting the job at Sky and Telescope. And then I did 5 years as a line editor and as associate editor and a technical editor. Then through a strange set of circumstances, I found myself president of the company. So I ran the company as publisher for 9 years. And then when Leif Robinson, who had been editing the magazine for 20 years, retired in 2000, I appointed myself his successor. And I had been, sort of secretly grooming somebody to take over as publisher should the opportunity arise for me to return to the editorial staff. So I've now done that for 8 years. And I think the time is right to move on. I'm still young enough to have a second career. So.
Cool. So there's new ownership, and
Yes.
have the new corporate overlords squashed the life out of Sky and Telescope?
Absolutely not. In many respects, Sky and Telescope is doing better now than it used to. Certainly, as a business, it's doing better than it used to, which doesn't surprise me. It used to be owned by us, the employees, and we ran it like a family business. And it was great to make a profit, but our main motivation was the love of astronomy and sharing the sky with people. But that was becoming untenable as a business, as a mode of operation in this internet era. You really had to cut expenses, you had to increase revenue somehow, because the internet is basically sucking the life out of print publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So the folks at New Track Media, they know publishing really well. They've published many tens of magazines over their careers. So they know what they're doing, and Sky and Telescope is actually doing just fine. I just woke up one day and realized I wasn't enjoying it as much as I used to.
Cool. So you can make a buck with astronomy magazine publications? I mean, does Sky and Telescope been profitable?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's close to 100,000 people reading it every month, and they're spending, a few dollars a month, and so you can do the math, and then you add in the advertising, and yeah, it's a profitable business. These are certainly challenging times for magazines. You won't find very many print publications that are growing either in circulation or in advertising, because everybody's rushing like lemmings to the internet, and I think because astronomy is such a wired community, after all, it was astronomers and physicists who invented the internet and the web especially. There's a lot of really good stuff online, and so if you want to pursue astronomy either as a hobbyist or as someone who just likes to keep up with what's happening in the news, you don't absolutely have to have something like Sky and Telescope in order to do that. So whereas it used to be that if you were an amateur astronomer, you read Sky and Telescope, increasingly I find examples of people who don't do that, who don't read the magazine. And I wish they did, and I still think the magazine offers a lot that you can't find on the internet. But the magazine costs money, and people seem to be moving in the direction of wanting their information to be free, which, as I warn people, that's fine, but eventually all the information will be worth what you paid for it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on a great career, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
I'm looking forward to the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Use as much of that as you can.
I'll use it.